So, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're here. I'm very excited about the One Future Fellowship happening this year. And this is just a sneak peek. We will have an entire campaign to get more people involved. We'll be doing smaller sessions with the fellows. We will release an impact book of last year to give you an idea of what the One Future Fellowship was. But the One Future Fellowship was our flagship program, and it's something that's really close to our heart. And trust me when I say this, that the entire team invests so much of their time, effort, and heart into ensuring that the One Future Fellowship goes well. My name is Vandita Murarka. I'm the founder and CEO of One Future Collective, and I'll be your facilitator today in terms of navigating you through what the fellowship was like and what you can expect in the coming year. Otherwise, also with the fellowship, I tend to anchor the fellowship and I'm the lead facilitator throughout. So if you do sign up and you're selected for the fellowship, we'll be talking a lot more and we'll be having a lot more conversations. Before we begin, a quick introduction about One Future Collective. We're a feminist youth-led not-for-profit, and our mission is nurturing radical kindness in individual communities and organizations through the work that we do on gender justice, feminist leadership, and mental health. And our vision is to enable a world built on social justice that is led by communities of care. We do this through certain pathways to change, which includes building and disseminating knowledge, capacity building, nurturing safe spaces, community organizing and advocacy, feminist legal and mental health services provision, and youth engagement. While you can't see this on your screen, we started about 2 years ago in 2017. And since then to now, we worked directly with over 5,000 people and have had an indirect impact of over 1 lakh people, not accounting for the fact that a lot of our curriculums, trainings, and advocacy efforts have led to large-scale transformations in Rajasthan, Haryana, and Madhya Pradesh. Does anyone have any questions about One Future Collective? Because I feel like we never answered those. Otherwise, I'll move ahead with the fellowship. All right. So before we start, all conversations are of course confidential, and we did take your consent in the beginning. However, at any point during this conversation, if you feel like there's something you would not want us to record or edit out of what we're recording, please feel free to let us know. Just be mindful about all your communication and conversations here. Generally, content today should not have any triggers, but we might have people sharing personal experiences, and in case any of that is triggering, always feel free to leave and step back in as possible. Online community guidelines: see others' humanness online. If you can, keep your video on. I'm not doing that because it makes presentations easier for me. Add a picture if you feel comfortable. This is a general suggestion we make, is to add your preferred pronouns to your profile name. I tried doing that today, but Google didn't update it quick enough. You can use the raised hand button if you're on Zoom. On Google, you can just send in the chat window that you would like to speak next. And also keep yourself on mute when you're not speaking, and use headphones as far as possible to avoid echoes. The way we'll be interacting today is, I would love to know who are the people on this call. I'd like to know a little bit about who you are. Maybe what I'll do is I'll pick 2 or 3 of you, but the rest of you can do an introduction in the chat window. I'll take you through the fellowship format of last year and the key impact and learnings from last year, what is different in 2020. And we also have a couple of our fellows on this call. Some of them are not here because they're actually attending another course by One Future Collective. And then we'll follow that up with question and answers and next steps. So just to start off, although I introduced what I do at One Future Collective, otherwise I'm a lawyer and a policy consultant, and I also work as a strategist and general consultant for organizations in terms of organizational development work and also policy legal work. I am very, very interested in reading. I've been a nerd all my life, and I really recently have started enjoying writing again. So that's been a learning curve through the lockdown. I'm going to ask a couple of you to volunteer and share a little bit about yourself. Go ahead, Ishita.
Hi, thank you for asking. My name is Ishita, and I'm currently doing my bachelor's in global affairs. I have been a feminist all my life, and I've been struggling to have equality around me or Since childhood, I've been questioning things like, why can't I wear this? Why can't I do this? And till 11th grade, as far as I could remember, just 2 years back, till then, I wanted to become a boy because I just felt like things would be easier if I'm a boy, everybody would listen to me. But
Mhm.
for the past 2, 3 years, I've been working on myself, trying to accept things, trying to work with things, and now have joined a lot of organizations, associations for better understanding of how I can help uh, have an equal represented world. So
That's
that's it.
lovely. Thank you so much, Ishita. Thank you for sharing that. Who else would like to share? We're going to take one more person, but I would invite you to leave introductions about yourself in the chat window. When we do these sneak peeks, and we will do a couple of more live sessions over the coming few weeks, it's an important process to also understand who are the other people who are interested in this fellowship alongside you. I think that also sets a tone for it. I'm surprised at how many people we have joining in late. Go ahead, Rahat. Rahat, you're on mute.
Yeah, so you're struggling to
No
figure that
problem.
out. Hi, so my name's Rahat. I'm a mental health professional. I'm currently building my private practice, and one of the things I'm trying to work on is how to keep my value system in
Mhm.
mind while I do this. And in the last 2 years, I've kind of worked in a space that didn't have that. And I know mental health is political. So that's something I'm really working on. And that's what I'm looking for from One Future Collective, hopefully, to figure out how to do that and
Mhm.
hone my leadership skills while I do that.
That's lovely, Rahar. Thank you for sharing. I love this statement that mental health is political. I don't think I hear enough people say that. Thank you so much. I see some introductions. Hi, Jarna. I'm glad you were able to join, even if your name is showing as Moot ADR. That's completely all right. So I'm going to leave the chat window open for you all to introduce yourselves as you see fit. No pressure. I'm going to move ahead with taking you all through the fellowship from last year. The One Future Fellowship started for us as a way to see what happens when young people want to do social change work, but they maybe are not at that point in their life where they can commit a really long period of time towards it, or they can't commit a lot of money, a lot of effort towards it, or they just don't know. They're still in that stage where they're exploring, and developing basic skills would really help them with figuring out next steps. So we thought, as young people, like I'm 25, my team's average age is 22 to 23, we thought, what is it that we would want? And while last year we did not articulate it, we also realized that something we were really missing was understanding of leadership and social change work from a feminist perspective. It's easy for us to apply feminist theory to our work in gender, to our work in mental health, but very rarely do we see that happen when we're talking about systems and structures and processes. For example, from impact assessment to fundraising to storytelling, how do we weave in feminist leadership across everything that is important for us to know as social leaders? So the One Future Fellowship is not something that will take you deep down one path of the social leadership journey. It is meant to develop you as a social leader. It's an introductory program, so it's not something that I would recommend to someone with, say, 7 to 10 years of work experience in the social sector. It is meant for young people, and that's why we also cap it off in terms of age. It is meant for people starting out in their social journey and trying to understand what they want to do. The way 2019 was structured was we had 4 tracks. We had the learning track, which was very time intensive. So for 3 months, 15 hours a week was what we asked from our fellows. Every Sunday, we had an 8 hour training. And apart from that, through the week, they either had a webinar or they had assignments and coaching. And otherwise, they were also working on projects. The structure looked at learning, coaching, a social impact project, networking, and learning opportunities. It I think each fellow went through over 100 hours of direct training in different aspects, which I will show you. Like, I'll show you what the different aspects of the training was. We also matched them to coaches who either had an alignment in terms of values or they had an alignment in terms of career tracks. And I will also give you an example of who our coaches were and what sort of backgrounds they came from. Just a second. Great. So in 2019, the learning modules we looked at were leadership and management, community organizing, as you can all see on your screen, right? So we looked at everything that you need to start off in your social leadership journey, from setting up teams and setting up an organization, more from the socio-emotional perspective, but also understanding how do you do that legally? What if you want to register? What if you're someone who doesn't want to start their own social organization, but wants to work with someone else that does? How do you understand what is it about the social sector that excites you? Are you interested in community organizing? Does fundraising excite you? Are you someone who wants to see impact and outcomes and outputs, and that sort of thinking, really stimulates your mind? We even looked at things like communication, branding, design thinking, negotiation skills. And last year we had a thematic focus area dependent on what the fellows were interested in, which was sustainability and gender. And we did all of this from a feminist leadership perspective. However, last year we failed to recognize this as feminist leadership. And this year we're making sure that we include that even more strongly. And I'll show you how. Any questions so far? Please feel free to ask questions. I'm very happy to answer them. All right. So last year we had 4 partners. Civicus, SDS and Youth, the Canadian Consulate in Bombay, and 91 Springboard. 91 Springboard were our community partners since it was an offline fellowship last year. And Civicus, SDSN, and the Canadian Consulate were knowledge partners, and they also supported us in multiple other ways. The fellowship would not have been possible without their support. We are hoping to have a lot of our partners back with us this year. However, the nature of partnerships might change in keeping with the crisis that everyone's seeing around us. It might not be possible for each organization to commit the same sort of time or resources towards fellowship related or just social leadership capacity development work. And to show you the fellows. So this was something we gifted the fellows when they graduated, and it's an illustration of each of them. Surprisingly, we started with 15 fellows. Our selection rate last year was less than 10%. So less than 10% of the people who applied were selected. We're very competitive with our selection. We would rather have a class of 5 fellows than take fellows that we think don't align with what we're looking for. And we're not looking for fancy brand names on your CV. We're not looking for high marks in your academic qualifications. We're looking for people who have a genuine interest in doing social change work and wanting to commit a substantial portion of their lives towards it, and people who have not had access to that sort of skill development and knowledge before, but do show the potential to take that on. We did not say it's a fellowship only for women. We had a lot of men apply. 1 man was selected. So we started with a cohort of 15, but only 12 fellows graduated. We're also very strict with graduation criteria. We're flexible on things like attendance and just more things which are not in your control. But we do look for intent. We look to understand why you were not able to do what you said you would do. And that's how the fellowship has evolved over last year and even now. We work on a very strong trust basis. Our fellows came from very different backgrounds. The people you see on the screen are students, filmmakers, lawyers, journalists, content writers, doctors, like people with a mental health background, a different variety of people who joined the fellowship last year. Eventually, the class that graduated was entirely female. And it's a very young cohort. So everyone was under 30, under 28 actually. And last year, our fellowship was limited to Bombay. So only people from Bombay could sign on. If you have more questions about the fellows, in the end, we will have them share their experiences with you as well. The One Future Fellowship is led by the One Future Collective team. It's anchored by them. I lead most of the facilitation work. A lot of the design interaction work is led by me. Last year, we had speakers who were either working at or are recognized as Forbes 30 under 30. They were from Dastra, they were from Unlimited India, from Thomson Reuters, the Canadian Consulate in India, amongst others. And the coaches that we had were also those that work at Haya, ISCM, TheaCare, Satwa. These were all people who came with a lot of experience. The way the fellowship is structured is that you will have one core coach who will facilitate your journey through the entire process, which is me. You will have other people from the One Future Collective team who will support this fellowship journey for you. which means we are your co-facilitators throughout this journey. But otherwise, we understand that we may not always hold the highest level of expertise. So we bring in experts. So we bring in like someone from Dastra for fundraising. We bring in someone from Unlimited India for monitoring and evaluation. And a lot of these speakers and coaches remain with us. We will soon also be releasing a list of who these speakers and coaches will be. Ishita, your question is this year's fellowship only for people in Bombay? I'm just coming to that. We have a surprise. It's not only in Bombay, but a lot has changed this year in keeping with how times have changed. This is something from Poonam, who was at Unlimited India and currently works with the ATE Chandra Foundation. She says that One Future Fellows are extremely bright and demonstrate a genuine interest in solving problems, and that the program introduces them to structures and frameworks that will help them implement their projects seamlessly, and that she thoroughly enjoyed leading the session on impact measurement. Of course, she also says that the environment and culture created by us was warm, welcoming, and stimulating, and that it encouraged open dialogue, honest debates, and purposeful discussions. She sends her best wishes to all fellows, and she's positive that they will achieve their desired social impact. We have a bunch of other testimonials from other speakers, people who interacted with our fellows, who resonate similar things. I think a very strong part of the fellowship for us, apart from the learning modules and the coaching and the training, is that there should be a deep inward learning journey for each fellow. And they should come out of this journey transformed as individuals in how they see the world and how they want to leave a mark on this world as well. A couple of key learnings from last year and some of our impacts. There was a constant resonance amongst all our fellows that they seem to have found a community of practitioners and developed networks here. There was a significant learning increase on the modules that we covered. So like a 3 to 4 point increase on a scale of 10 for different skills. And the key skills that fellows stated amongst all that they really learned here was community organizing, narrative building, impact assessment, and also taking ideas from ideation to execution. I'm very happy to say that 12 out of 12 fellows said that they would definitely recommend the fellowship. So on a scale of 10, 0 to 10 saying that 10 we would definitely recommend it and 0 saying we wouldn't recommend it at all of them gave it a 10. We learned that we need to align some components of the fellowship to more on learning and reduce the individual project scope. We also learned that the key to keeping our fellows aligned is to keep them very well fed and entertained to ensure that they're more interested in the boring parts of the lectures that we take them through. Any questions so far? Please feel free to unmute yourself or send a question in the chat window. Jaren, is there something you'd like to add? Jaren works with One Future Collective, and last year she co-anchored the fellowship with me, and I hope that she continues to be an important part of the fellowship this year as well.
Hi, Vandita. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. I want to say that I could actually, along with Vandita and the team at One Future Collective, witness the transformation in the fellows right from day one to over the course of the 3-month fellowship journey that they had with us. As Vandita rightly said, that the sense of community was something we cherished seeing develop. We really were happy to see that develop in front of us. And ultimately, the cohort that passed out was a beautiful bunch of people who care and feel strongly for causes, and ultimately ended up taking really strong decisions, really purposeful projects as to furthering their areas of passion, their areas of interest, and going out and executing their social impact projects. I would also want to say that I know that this is going to be a sneak peek, but I would also want to say that this is an excellent opportunity. More than happy to be answering more questions through the course of the meetup as well. Yeah, thank you, Vandita.
Thank you so much, Jaren. I would reiterate that. We did want to develop a community, but we didn't realize that the community in itself would become such a large part of the fellowship experience. And I think that is different in 2022. Ishita, to answer your question, this year will be entirely virtual. We don't think that owing to the COVID-19 situation, at least for the next coming months, we will be able to do in-person meetups. at least not in the numbers that we're looking for a long time. And it would also be irresponsible of us to do it. So the fellowship runs from August to October of every year. The in-person training modules are 8 hours every Sunday, including your break time. So it's not like we don't let you eat and let you take a break. There's a question, 1 second. What will the size of this year's, what we hope it to be? So we tend to cap it at 15, which means 15 is the maximum number of fellows that we will take, give what may, right? We will not take more than that. But the minimum size that we are happy to run with is 5 fellows. How the fellows channelize their leadership skills into their impact projects. I will park that question for when the fellows speak, and I will share on that when we get to their experiences as well. This year, what we're also doing is, apart from taking it entirely virtual, we will be reducing the individual projects focus. When One Future Collective started also, we started with the idea that we don't want to build projects, we want to build up people. Because once people have the skills to make the sort of change that they want to do, they're easily going to be able to implement change wherever they are. The idea that change can only happen if you start your own organization or start your own initiative is moot. We should be able to exist in multiple spaces, and the way we live our lives and our everyday activism and the things that we do in small ways every day can also lead to massive change. We can continue to do change work where we are. So we want to create a system where we develop people in such a way that they can go on to either run their own projects, their own campaigns, or also work with others and work with different and very diverse teams to be able to co-lead and co-manage projects. However, this year we will be introducing more group assignments and projects, and this will take on the form of campaigns, short-term campaigns or short-term projects to be implemented. Depending on the nature of where we're at in the world, they might be entirely virtual, or some of it might require an offline component as well. Someone's trying to chime in. All right. We will also be reducing a focus on thematic areas. So last year we focused a bit on gender and sustainability. And this year we'll focus more on just developing skills for leadership and management, which we didn't focus on as much last year. This year we'll also be focusing on advocacy and building your own voice and networks, which includes very specific things like we will be pushing you to talk more on different platforms. We will be pushing you to write more about what you feel about the world and why. We want you to become individual change agents on issues that you care about. And we want to provide you the support that you need to be able to do that. And this could mean different things for different people. It could be digital, it could be offline, it could be video, audio, written. We want to be able to support this change journey. We also want to focus on building skills as storytellers and facilitators, especially as change agents. I think while all of us have ideas, without being able to tell a story or without being able to facilitate that idea into action, we often lose out on the impact of it. We will this year be underpinning feminist leadership throughout all of our modules, which means everything we talk about will include feminist leadership. I'll give you an example. So last year we spoke about fundraising in a very traditional manner in which it happens in the country, right? This year we will also look at what feminist fundraising looks like. So we will also look at community-based fundraising, community participation in fundraising, participatory fundraising models like the Frida model or the Mama Cash model, and understanding how we can adapt and individualize these models for our local context. And we will do this for every module that we look at. We'll also be focusing a lot more on coaching because we want to do more of looking inwards and defining our personal impact pathways better. And through all of this, our hope is that we will build a stronger feminist community. I want to reiterate something that we haven't put out here in this deck, which is that your journey of the fellowship doesn't end with these 3 months. It goes on with us for as long as you would like, right? So we stay engaged with our fellows. We will design different alumni engagement plans with them. We offer them continuous learning through other programs and other courses as far as possible. Any questions? All right, I don't see any questions. And I think this is the question that the fellowship and all of One Future Collective is constantly answering, that what looks different in the world because you exist. And I'm going to ask you to also take a couple of minutes now to think about either what looks different in the world because you exist right now, or after 5 years, what do you see has changed in the world because of you being a part of it? And I think finding the answer to that in the fellowship, and it's not going to be a linear answer, right? Especially in a time like today, we want to equip our fellows with the skills to be able to adapt to different changing needs of the universe. I mean, when I plan my career, I can no longer plan for more than 5 years because technology is changing so rapidly. I don't know what the needs of the community will be like after 5 years. But to be able to understand how my role, although adapting and shifting through these years, will remain slightly constant. And answering this question has really helped do that for me. There seems to be a couple of questions. What is the fee structure of the program? Yeah, I'll just get to that, Nishtha. It will run over 3 months. So last year we charged 10,000 from the fellows and we offered a lot of scholarships. The only thing is we don't offer complete scholarships. What we can offer in case we don't want anyone to not be able to access this program because of financial needs. So what we do offer is that you make a payment and you tell us that for X or Y reasons, you cannot afford the program otherwise. And we provide you a refund at the end of the fellowship, because we want to ensure that the time that is invested in the fellowship is worthwhile. Because we're not selecting a lot of people to select this cohort, and we want to ensure that they are invested in it and they stay with it till the end. And this acts as a security towards other fellows and creates a sense of reciprocity within the community. It also allows us to stay independent. And we do this across One Future Collective, right? Charging for our products and services ensures that we can run without other interests influencing us. But we offer a lot of scholarships, free ships. So you can always just get in touch with us for that. To come to this year's fees, we were going to increase the fees this year, but keeping in mind what the virtual scenario seems to be like, what the communities seem to be facing, we will not be changing the fee structure at all. So it'll be 10,000 this year as well. What will community engagement amongst the fellows look like in a virtual environment? Garima, that's actually a great question. And we've been thinking of that as also we run a couple of other courses, right? And we realize that participatory frameworks are possible. And we will be designing specific community engagement activities. So your learning modules will be very participatory. It will not be like today. Today is so much more lectury. All of our trainings have a lot of participatory activities, a lot of engagement within them. Otherwise, we will also host a lot of semi-formal events online to be able to develop that sense of community within the fellows. Some things we haven't shared publicly yet, but I'm happy to share here. We will also engage the fellows in a couple of creative projects where they work in smaller groups together through the week, which allows them to share reflections and what they've been learning with each other in a more interesting format, which could be either like a community podcast for the fellowship or a community blog for the fellowship. Having said that, additionally, we will also be, of course, using traditional mediums, using WhatsApp, setting up a buddy system, using a Facebook group for a lot of other conversations to ensure that while it's virtual, it still feels like, and it still gives you the sense of having developed a community at the end of this program. I hope that answers your question. No worries. Any other questions? All right. I'd love for a couple of our fellows to share their experience with all of you. I'm going to take like a 1-minute pause in case there are people who have questions they're thinking about and they want to take some time before they answer that. There are a lot of fellows who could not join today for multiple reasons, one of it being that I asked them to only 2 days back. Komal's response to the fellowship is that she was thinking of switching to the social sector for a long time, but did not have a clear direction. With the fellowship, she realized the causes she's passionate about and also absorbed various tools and concepts for the social sector. She's now working as a brand and communications manager at a social startup. The startup does some brilliant work around sustainability. And everything that she learned back then is helping her now in her work. Vikshita, who was actually our youngest fellow, she said that the fellowship journey was super special to her. And it's the place where she found people in the community amongst whom she could find a space to express, learn, and correct herself. And she had no idea about the social sector, but never did she find herself struggling because the topics were so well structured and facilitated. And lastly, she says she also found her mentor during the course of the fellowship. In case there are no questions, I'd love to introduce some people and get them to share. Is the fellowship designed with personal interest for a cause? Ishita, that's a great question. To be very honest, because we rooted in feminist leadership, we would expect that the fellows that join us have a basic value system that aligns with intersectional feminism, which means that, sorry, someone's joining in. Yes. Which means that you could be developing an app, or you could be designing a shelter home, you could be designing a food bank, you could be trying to create a waste management program. Anything you do you have intersectional feminist values? And that is what is important for us when we're selecting you, amongst other things, of course. We help you with skills that will help you in whichever cause that you take up. And of course, your coaching and individual mentoring will happen along the lines of what you're interested in. So for example, community organizing, leadership and management, impact assessment, fundraising, etc. Like all the other things I mentioned before, remain the same across fellows. But when we pair you up with your coaches, we take into account what are your long-term career interests, because your coaches also become people who can later open more doors for you and get you connected to other people. And even when the One Future Collective team provides you mentoring and access to networks, we do it along the cause that you're interested in. So for example, if you're interested in gender justice, we will probably not give you a coach that works on privacy laws and data, right? For example, although there could be an intersection of that as well. I hope that answers your question. Last year, we were focused on individual needs and thematic areas, but we realized that that doesn't necessarily work because we're not incubating projects. We're incubating people, for the lack of a better word. When will we open applications? We're actually opening applications this weekend, but today we will take expression of interest and we will prioritize the expression of interest that we get today. All right, so I'm going to ask Aparupa to share first because I think Sheetal's network is a little off. Okay, we have another question, so I'm going to answer that first. Sure, I can take you all through the coaching process as well. So last year, what we did is after 1 month of the fellowship, we made all the fellows take an assessment, which helped us determine what sort of coach would be preferred for them. And then we shared the bios of coaches with them and asked them if that is something that they think is a good fit for them. Then we initiate one call with the coach for you. We are there on the first 3 calls with your coach. We help you set up a coaching agreement with them. And then any coaching relationship cannot be forced upon you. So they will be in touch with you, not just throughout the journey of the course, but they can be in touch with you later as well, because that is their commitment to us and you. As a coach, they don't just commit to 3 months, they commit to coaching you over a sustained period of time. But you have to decide that with your coach. We facilitate the interaction. If, for example, we pair you up with a coach and you just don't get along, we're not going to force you to be with that coach for 3 months or even for like 3 weeks. We do give the option of switching your coach as well. This year, we will be introducing coaches earlier on. So by the 2nd or the 3rd week, we will be assigning coaches to each person. By the end of the first month, we will allow you to switch coaches if you require. And then for the first 3 months, definitely the coach will be with you. And later on, it's entirely up to you how you take the coaching journey ahead. And these coaches are really senior journalists. We had senior journalists, senior women's rights activists. We had senior consultants, fundraisers, sales and marketing professionals. They're people with a lot of experience in the social sector and a certain level of seniority, which helps you understand how you want to direction your career as well. Any other questions? All right, Aparupa, hi, are you on the call?
Yes, I am, Vandita.
Yay, okay. So I'm just going to introduce Aparupa. She's one of the fellows from last year. She's a postgraduate in law from the Maharashtra National Law University. And she's a certified sexuality educator and mental health first aider. She works at the intersections of gender, sexuality, safety, body neutrality, and identity, and how emotional well being and social justice are connected to these aspects. She's also the founder of Bibliotherapy, a popular mental health book club and support group based in Mumbai. Aparupa has been such a great fellow, and over time, she's become such an integral part of the One Future community. Thank you for joining us, Aparupa. I'm going to let you take over now.
Thank you so much, Vandita. Yeah, I am very emotional about the One Future Fellowship, and my friends will tell you this. I can't stop raving about it. But that aside, I will tell you a little bit about what my journey was like. I actually did not know of One Future Collective before the fellowship, and I just happened to be scrolling Instagram this one night, and I saw a poster, and the words social justice from a feminist lens really screamed out to me, and I instantly applied. I applied through my phone. After a few days, I got a confirmation saying that I was in, and of course, I was very thrilled. Also, the fact that it was on Sundays, which ensured the fact that I was working full time and I could still attend the sessions. So that was great for me as well. And what I was hoping that the fellowship would do was to provide me with an impetus to use my privilege. I am a cis, Savarna, able-bodied person. So I was hoping that, and I had recently transitioned from a corporate setup to the social sector. So I was hoping that One Future Collective would, provide me with that guidance and provide me with the tools to make sure that this transition happens smoothly, and also I'm able to not lose my identity in the process. And of course, I resonate very deeply with the politics of One Future Collective. They truly embody feminist leadership. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a fellow. And it was also like very crucial for me to know that an organization will be accommodating of my psychosocial disability. I do live with sometimes debilitating depression and anxiety. So it was very important for me that the organization be accommodating of that. I was allowed to have an outburst in the class. If something triggered me and I needed some time and space away, that was okay. If something made me really angry, I was very passionate about something, and I had a contrary view to the facilitator, I was allowed to express it. I mean, not allowed, like there is no allowed and not allowed, apart from like some, of course, basic rules about safety and privacy and all of those things. So it was truly like a collaborative experience in that sense. We were co-creating the fellowship. Of course, the fellowship is structured, but we were also co-creating the experience with the facilitators. So I think that was brilliant. And it, of course, helped me broaden my horizons, because there was like a lot of cross-disciplinary exchange, and not just like topics like community organization, negotiation, storytelling, right? But I also learned about like sustainability, for instance, which I had been thinking about but hadn't really embodied in my practice, or feminist retellings of biblical narratives. Like we had a webinar on that. Like where else would you get all of this at the same space and get to choose what your experience will be like? And of course, I think one big piece that the fellowship gave me was to also force me to think of innovative solutions, right? There are these run-of-the-mill creating awareness and, let's do a project on this. But at the end of the day, how am I going to reach out to every single stakeholder in the process? And I think the fellowship really helped me push my boundaries that way and really think about how I could maximize my impact. And yes, fellow nerd here. So the quality of readings and resources that were provided to us during the fellowship, I still go back and refer to them and look at them when I'm starting a project, or when I'm trying to really find resonance and validation in some of the thoughts that I may have. So top-notch quality readings and resources will be made available to you, and fantastic food throughout the fellowship. And Vandita is not lying about this at all. Yeah.
But you can provide the food this year. I'm so sorry.
Huh?
We can't provide the food this year. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah. But I do feel like the way the lunch experience, something like they were so mindful about even that, right? Even the lunch experience, the way it was curated, the way we would sit with each other, or the last thoughts that we would be left with right before the lunch break. It all really added to the experience. And I've made some notes.
So much.
Also, yeah, and yes, I think this was a big thing for me, where I really saw how feminist workplaces and inclusive work structures could look like. Um, and all of us in our own capacity, like, practice feminism in our own lives, but to extend that to even your workplace, to extend that even to a little thing like how you will share your cab. I thought that was really brilliant. And so the project that I had started in collaboration with another fellow, Manvi, who's not here, is called Baatcheet. What the project essentially tries to do is it tries to foster healthy conversations on sexuality and safety among parents and young people, so that, like, homes become safe spaces for the exploration of these topics. And we actually couldn't take the project forward and really reach out to a lot of parents, but now we are trying to bring it back in a virtual format, especially, like, there is unfortunately this external trigger which we know because of the recent locker room boys case. So we are trying to bring back the project to enable parents to start having these conversations. And I mean, in conclusion, really, I was working in the field of sexuality and safety education for a couple of years when I'd started on the fellowship program. But there are, like, real social, logistical, structural difficulties to being a sexuality educator in India. There is so much taboo against even saying the word sex, let alone, like, trying to educate children about it, right? And there is no real script. How do you measure your success as a sex educator? Is it how many kids you've taught? Is it how many schools you've been able to reach out to? How do you know if you're on the right path? How do you know if you're doing it right, if you're saying the right things? Who do you exchange these ideas with? There's so few of us. I think what One Future Fellowship also did for me was to give me coaches and mentors who continue to guide me to this day. And also, like, I'm the oldest fellow. I'm 27, and at no point was I made to feel like I was lacking in some way, or that I had to catch up because I was older. I think the fellowship was very cognizant of the fact that I am on my own journey, and truly to incubate me as a social leader in that sense. I mean, after the fellowship, I have taught schools. I've taught kids in schools across India. I have done webinars in the recent times. And yeah, it's been a great experience where I continue to use the learnings, not just at a professional level, but also on a personal level. And I mean, it also gave me some of my closest friends now. It's truly a community, and it's a community that stays with you for such a long time. And we're checking up on each other. We're there for each other during this pandemic, to know that, like, there are these bunch of feminists who are there for you, who are going to be very mindful of your triggers and your boundaries. And to know that I have that support system has really been helping me through the pandemic, right? So I think that's also something really wonderful that I got through the fellowship.
Thank you so much, Aparupa. That's incredibly kind. And Ishita is saying that's also incredibly helpful. So I'm glad that it was helpful for everyone. Any specific questions for Aparupa, or I'll guide some of the general questions towards her. So Aparupa, Nishita is asking if there are any weekly feedback mechanisms to let the team know of your progress, performance, or satisfaction out of the course.
If you heard the little snigger in Vandita's voice, you will know that we were sent a Google form at the beginning of the session, in the middle of the session, at the end of the session. And we were constantly being checked out. I'm sorry?
It wasn't so many forms, I promise.
I swear it was, guys. But like, you get used to it. It's fine. Um, no, and I think what this feedback mechanism also helps you do is you go through a lot of these lectures. You are engaging with other fellows. You're doing a lot through the fellowship, but you're also maybe not necessarily mindfully sitting back and reflecting on what you've taken away from each day. And also the forms were a place where we could express what our needs were, what else we needed, what additional support we needed, or if we needed a call during the week. So all of that, it was a safe space for us to express all of that too. So definitely there are weekly feedback mechanisms. There are also, you could also just reach out to one of the team member, even if it's just on WhatsApp, and if there was something specific that you needed addressed, you could reach out to them.
All right. Thank you so much, Aparupa. I'm going to...
I have a question.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to ask you that were you very sure about whatever you wanted to learn from the beginning of the fellowship? For example, if I talk about myself, I'm still not sure if I want to become a corporate lawyer or not, or if I want to join the social sector. So was this fellowship helpful for you to find out what you exactly want to do?
Yeah. So Ishita, like, I did know, right, what I wanted to do with my life, but I did not know what I wanted from the fellowship. I think I was just very drawn to the idea of like learning with a bunch of feminists, but I didn't necessarily know what I wanted from the fellowship per se. And also the project that I had chosen initially was to develop like age-wise, grade-wise, queer inclusive sex ed modules. But through the learnings in the fellowship, I realized that there is a need to enable parents, and there is a need to help them take the conversations forward at home. So my project completely changed, and I also saw that there was another fellow who was interested in a similar line of work, and we collaborated, we exchanged ideas. And of course, like, both of us were interested in sexuality and gender, but there were others in the room who, like Sheetal, who will speak next, I think, was very interested in mental health. So she could really bring in that mental health piece to our project and say what was working from that lens and what wasn't. So you don't necessarily have to know what you want to do with your life, or what kind of experience you're seeking from the fellowship. I think the fellowship really guides you to understand what you want, what you possibly want from your experience.
Also, I would like to add here, I mean, for, the fellowship is more about building you. I mean, your career paths will keep on changing. Right now, if you're doing one thing, maybe next month you want to do something else. So your career path is something that is changing because you are growing. But what the fellowship helped us is to create and, be centered to our values and to who we are. Because, until unless you don't know who you are and what you are and what you want to do, I think all the other things are something that is not controllable or intangible, because they come and they go. But the fellowship helped us to actually identify who we are and identify with our core values, and that helped us to better define what we want to do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I just wanted to add something to that. I think even when we
Vandita, I think we've lost you.
Sorry. Yeah, I keep getting normal calls. I was just saying that even when we designed this fellowship, I think we were looking at it from the perspective of what are the skills that we can provide fellows that will help them in any career path that they take. Learning fundraising, impact assessment, community organizing, and amongst the other modules we shared earlier is going to help you across sectors, across careers. But the way you look at these things will change a lot through how your fellowship experience is like. And that is at the center of the fellowship. Like, do we build people who are constant change makers, or do we build people who can create one change project? I think that's where the experience came from. Does anyone have any other questions for Aparupa specifically?
I'll just answer something that Manogni asked. They asked, how does the fellowship interact with certain needs, mental health needs especially? I did highlight this in my sharing, that the One Future Collective was very accommodating of my mental health needs. That is not to say that like there is no accountability. So something like, okay, I wasn't able to deliver this because I had a bad depressive episode. Fine. So what is it that I can do when I have more energy or more mind space, not to make up for it, but to kind of just further my learning, to ensure that I am not losing out on the value of the fellowship. So in no manner was I made to feel inadequate for living with depression and anxiety.
Thank you for saying that, Aparupa. I'm just going to expand upon that a little bit, which is to say that, for example, attendance criteria can be very ableist, right? Especially when it's an in-person training. So we weren't very stuck with the idea. We did have certain attendance criteria to ensure accountability, but we were flexible depending on your circumstances. So we don't want the fellowship experience to be something that is so structured and so rigid that it can't move with the needs of the fellows. Which is why even once you start the fellowship, while we will have a core learning module and a core training module, last year we introduced webinars because the fellows said there are certain topics they are interested in learning about and they haven't been able to learn about it outside of OFC or in other spaces. So we introduced free webinars, weekly ones, where either the fellows could train each other, so they could do peer learning, or we would get external experts or internal experts to do these trainings. So I think that's how we want to ensure that we, one, meet the differing needs of fellows, mental health and otherwise. And also it's interdisciplinary because the fellowship is not about one issue. Like the fellowship is not making you a leader in the field of gender justice, for example. It's making you a social leader with the ability to look at issues from an intersectional feminist lens, and also not just look at the issue from an intersectional feminist lens, to look at the solutions from that lens as well, which will require you to be interdisciplinary. I'm not saying that each person is going to become an expert in fundraising and impact assessment and the law and policy. You will end up finding areas that you like more, and you will begin to narrow down your expertise in those areas. But what you will continue to do is you will call upon the expertise you've learned on in other areas. And these are all transferable skills. You don't just use them in the social sector. You use them everywhere in your life. I hope that answers your question. Shaurya, this year the fellowship is completely virtual, so we will not be hosting it in a particular city. However, once the lockdown is over and from next year, we would be hosting it in Bombay for sure, and we might expand to Delhi and Bangalore. I think Abira has also sent an answer about your question, Manogni. And there are a couple of questions answered already in chat. I'm going to take a minute to introduce Sheetal before we move ahead. Just give me a second. Sheetal, are you still on call? Let me check. Yes, great.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, the network's been really iffy for everyone. So Sheetal is a fellow from last year as well. She's currently the Youth Engagement Program Manager for Connecting Dreams Foundation, and her work involves enabling young change makers to solve the UN SDGs gaps in rural and urban areas. Currently, she's a part of India COVID Action Network, a platform to connect help seekers and volunteers during the lockdown. And she's leading the youth engagement, mental health, and career team in this initiative. Before I move ahead, I just want to say that I've been so proud of each fellow for taking on so much work around the COVID pandemic and making sure that they adapt their own work and their own needs to be able to meet the needs of the communities they serve. Thank you so much. And Sheetal, I'm going to hand over to you. I'd love for you to share your experience with the fellowship.
Thank you so much. And I think whatever we speak today is going to fall short of the experience that we had. So I think when I just recently graduated last year doing a bachelor's in management studies from HR college, which I was always against the education system, because I think by the end of the year that I graduated, there was nothing that education system taught me, but it was more of an experience. And post that, I directly joined social development sector, and I think it was July end, where it was only 2 months where I joined my work, and very unsure about what to do and how to move forward in the social development space. And because looking at what the current situation is like in the world, and are we good enough to do it? So I was in Mitibai College, where I saw the OFC fellowship poster, and I was way too late. I think it was already 30th July or 31st July. Yes, 31st. So that was the day, but I was like, okay, never mind, let's just try it out. Because I think that is what I was always there. If, I didn't want to feel bad that, okay, I didn't try. So I texted OFC across all social media platforms saying that, okay, I want to join this. Will I be able to? What is the criteria? And I think they were so prompt enough that we had an interview and I got selected. I was super excited to join this because I think as I was working, I always wanted to learn and develop myself, because working would require a lot of learning and unlearning. So it was, I think, the first Sunday where it was raining and we couldn't make it. And it was an online session that we had. But I think that Sunday was somewhere, it was, the first out of comfort zone wala one thing comes in where, okay, it's Sunday, okay, you've joined up, but now you have to turn up. But then once it was raining heavily, and then I was like, oh God, now it's 3 months and one of the classes we were not going to have. But I think we had an online session, and that was the time when it was like, wow, it just clicks that, okay, you are in the right place, but now it's for you to develop more. So I think from the second class onward, the structure of the fellowship, it's not only the knowledge or the information part of it, but also the human connect that was always there, right? On people checking on you, to how are you doing, what is something that you want to learn, right from, I think we were so annoyed to fill in the Google forms, but I think at the end of the day, we were just, it was like a blessing in disguise, because actually we were giving thoughts to what we were putting it out. Otherwise it was just inside and we could have done nothing. So I think along with work, Monday to Saturdays working, and then Sundays, Saturdays you're fully tired, but Sunday you would just up and like just get going to Andheri just for the fellowship. And I think each session that we did, right from the first session, it was always a learning curve, which, even though at times we don't understand like what are we learning, where are we going to go forward with, but people will never tell you like how are you supposed to do it. They will just provide you with the guidelines, or they will guide you. And that's what I think one OFC did it very well with me, because I think when I started my work, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it. Am I going to have enough capacity?" Because I was running the whole Mumbai chapter myself. But I think by the end of the fellowship, there was this sense where, okay, even though there is so much noise around, so much that needs to be done, but you are capable enough of doing it, with the skill set, with the right people, with the mentorship guidance. I think that's where OFC just, slided in my life in such a perfect time, where I needed so much support and guidance, and, a way that, because that was nothing that the education system taught us. But I think the group discussion, like sharing our experiences, because everybody comes from a very different background, just putting all our experiences together, and right from the structure, it made a lot more sense. I think by the end we were like, oh God, now the fellowship is ending. But I think along the whole journey, I think Aprupa just mentioned everything. It was also the informal meetings that we had, going to Gorega, and Udhar se Vandita's place was so far off, but everybody would, just make it up even after the fellowship, because I think Sundays were something we were all looking forward to, because I think Monday to Saturday we worked so much, but Sunday was this day when, you leave everything and you go forward, where you can be yourself. And I think that is where it was more impactful for me. And I never, like Aprupa, you should never have a preconceived notion like, okay, this is something that I'm going to get out of. You can have a flexible plan, but this is where I think the whole fellowship journey was designed for us, with by us. And Vandita was supporting, the whole OFC team was supporting us throughout, be it readings that we were asking, we were all putting in our resources together. So it was not just, okay, OFC is just doing our bit, but everybody did it. I think we weren't doing our readings also, which was our bad. But once you did that reading and you came to class, you were so enlightened. I mean, you did not have to do anything, because that reading had everything, I mean, which you cannot get outside. So I think OFC helps you connect the dot. Firstly, within yourself, like, who you want to, like, who are you? I think because we are raised up in such a system, in such a society, that we forget who we are. But I think by the end of the 3 months, even if what the curriculum you do or whatever activities you do, I think by the end of the 3 months, you will understand who are you, what are you capable of, and there are people who are as willing and as ambitious as you are, and there is this chota tribe, which will keep on looking at you, which will keep on asking you, like, how are you? I mean, today we live in a time where people don't even have time to, ask somebody, like, how are you doing? But I think Vandita, Jaren, and everybody, they have been with us during the fellowship, post the fellowship. I mean, today also we talk so much, be it anything, you go with a question or a problem, and they are there to support you. I mean, they are not going to be there, ki, okay, I'm going to solve the problem for you, but they will make sure that every end is met. And as I started this journey, and by the end of the time I finished it, I had no clue like what to do, because my work revolves around entrepreneurship and in rural and urban space. But I think with every situation that is coming in today, also when there is a lockdown and when there is so much that is demanded out of me, I will never say no to something, because I know, like, I have my will. It's not only about the will, but my values. I have people who are there. Like, mental health is something that is no, I've always wanted to explore, but the opportunity came in, and I did not hesitate. Like, okay, pan India level, chalo mental health ka kuch chalu karte hain. But I knew that, Vandita is there, Pragya is there, they're there. Even if I slip or I make any mistake, they're there to help me. So I think it's not just the fellowship, but it's also building up, the leadership. Because where I started, my journey started by only handling the Mumbai chapter, but today I am handling all over India chapters, and this is the only framework that I think that we have received through the fellowship, and to the, the building of the leader. I think that is even my space where I work in, and the reflections that we do. I think at the end of the every day, I do these reflections, which we always did at the end of the session. That is, what were the positives, what were the negatives, what were the deltas. We did that for the session, but right now I'm implementing that in my life. And trust me, like, today also, I cannot be more grateful than a community like OFC, because I remember one thing where, once we joined in and once the fellowship was done, it was such a beautiful space that you don't want to get out. But Vandita was like, no, this is a space that you can follow when it's there, but I want you to explore the world. I mean, these people have such strong values that, it's not just, they're not just, along with developing themselves, they are building up leaders. So I think I said a lot, but to summarize the whole thing, the key learnings from the fellowship is, one, how much ever you go forward in life, I think the value system and the people, the association that you have in life is very important. And building that with the fellows, with the team, and with the community that I'm working is something, people always say, Ki, why are you doing that extra effort? Why do you just take calls at 12 or 2 or 3? But I was like, there are people in the community who need me, and I have the privilege, I have the skills, I have everything that I can give back. So why not? So that is one of it. The second is, I think, how much ever you learn, whatever you do, you have to upgrade your skills. No matter what, today you learn something, but until and unless you don't implement that within, like, various sections or various disciplines domain, I think you will never become a true leader. Because if you work only in one direction, like, ki ek hi cheez karenge wohi karenge, but I think life is for us to explore and just put in our learnings in our personal, in our professional, in the ways that we can contribute. So I think the journey has been beautiful, no doubt. And, I could go on and on, but I think I should stop now. And yes, it's just been a wonderful journey. And today, wherever I am or wherever I am going to go forward, I think a major part of it is because of OFC and their support and the mentorship. It's like, I'm telling you, it's no joke to start something or to go something by yourself, but with the people, like with people from OFC, they've always been there. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheetal. That's incredibly nice. I promise everyone else that we did not train them to say these things before today. They've just been incredible always. I think we got very lucky with our first class as well. Sheetal, if I may, there are a couple of questions that I would direct towards you.
Yes.
So there's one question from Jharna. I think she's dropping on and off. But she asks that she would like to learn how the fellows channelize their leadership skills into community-based or policy legal aspects of their social impact projects. So how did you all take your leadership skills into the projects that you were doing?
So with the lead, with everything that we learned, I think it was at the correct time. The structure was so good that, by the end, when you started project, it was not just your project that you were implementing those skills, but we also had sessions where, the other fellows also spoke about their project, and we had to apply our skills and, the learning in various aspect, understanding the various lens of the project. So it was not only just the projects that we did with the fellows, but also, with the learnings and with the work or with the community that you're working with. We applied our learnings with ourselves, like the projects that we were doing, and we also shared it with the other fellows to have like a broader view on the skills and to apply it. I think the fellowship was so practical that whatever you learned, you applied it somewhere or the other, even if you were in only in the incubation phase. But we had to think about funding, what is like the various other possibilities or the expansion, because it's not just okay, you have an idea, you go with it, but also seeing what is like the future that is there in that industry or in the various industries.
Thank you so much, Sheetal. Any other questions specifically for Sheetal? All right, thank you so much. I'm just going to take a couple of other questions that people have raised and answer them here. There is a question that asks about cross-coaching. Can we get in touch with someone else's coach in case of a particular segment? So what we would do is you can get in touch with any of the speakers that come in. And they might be your coach, they may not be your coach. In case you have a specific area of interest, then we are happy to connect you with people who might be someone else's coach, or they might be another expert to assist you with that. So we're always happy to make connections as far as possible from our end. Shaurya asks if there's a certain eligibility criteria. So currently the only eligibility criteria we follow, like there's an age cutoff, which means we don't take fellows that are younger than 18 years of age and older than 30 years of age. But otherwise, we don't have any other criteria. We look for passion and a want to change the world, and an ability to do a lot of hard inner work and ask yourself and the world hard questions, so that you can actually do something that's transformative and really, truly changes the world as we see it. And we try to do this through a quite intensive application process. The application process goes live later this week, but we, of course, have a standard form. You fill that out. Then we do interviews, and we also give assignments before selection, because we want to ensure that people are dedicated and committed to the fellowship experience, because it's a lot of hard work and life catches up. So we want to ensure we take people who are as invested in the fellowship as the fellowship will be in them. Any other questions at all?
Also, I think the major part, one of our sessions was on storytelling.
I do have one.
Yes. Go for it. I will continue later.
Oh, please go ahead. It's a network issue, so
Yes,
you could hear me
I was
later.
just
Go ahead,
saying,
please.
today I think the way we express ourselves as well, like today as Aprupa and we spoke about, I think this was also one of our sessions that we did during the fellowship on public narrative. And I think today, wherever I speak, with regarding anything that I'm working with, I think the structure that we built, then has also helped me to build my story better, because earlier it was just random blabbering that would happen, but now I think it's a lot more structure and a meaning that I could give back also to the story. So yes, so thank you. So I'm telling, these are like the few learnings that we took from the fellowship and we are applying right now.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Sheetal. That's quite powerful, because we've noticed this change as well. So Jaren, I, and one more member from the One Future Collective team, Prerna, were completely involved in the fellowship experience. And we've seen noticeable difference in how the fellows have evolved as individuals, as community leaders, and just generally as activists. And it is an important part of being in the social space that you emerge as an activist who has a voice and who has opinions. Because to not have an opinion is also dangerous. And how do you share these opinions in a way that you can convince other people? I think that was quite an important part of the fellowship as well. Jharna, you had a question.
I have a question. Can I ask my question after Jharna is done?
I think you can go ahead now. I think she's facing network issues. Please go ahead, Ishita.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to ask that if someone has joined your online fellowship and the following year you have one in their city and that is on ground, can they join that too?
So we would not encourage you to do the fellowship twice, to be very honest. And I see the temptation with an in-person fellowship, right? But the world is really rapidly changing. We don't know what things look like for us in the next couple of years. We do promise, however, that once the virtual fellowship is done as well, if you are in a city where One Future Collective has a team, which is Bombay, Delhi, and Bangalore, we will create offline community spaces for you. If there are other fellows, then we will ensure that we create offline optional spaces for you to meet the other fellows in your city. And of course, you will always have the team present to bond and form community with. This is not a part of the fellowship, but we hope to be able to do residency training and alumni programs in the coming years. And you would always have an option to attend that and to make your virtual community a more real one. And we're happy to facilitate other experience sharing in person as well as we go ahead. We really don't know what the world looks like after a year. And we don't want to tell you that we know because no one knows. And let's see how that figures itself out. But definitely would not encourage applying for the same fellowship twice because it would be a repetition of a lot of content and a lot of training. And you might not learn as much as you think you would in the second cohort.
Thank you.
No problem, Ishita.
So I had exactly the same question, and you've mostly answered it, Vandita. But I had another query. So I was talking to you about how learning with OFC and this fellowship is different, and I definitely learned that the fellowship is about a leadership-based program, but learning with OFC is somewhat different. But if you could help me understand some more major differences between the two programs, that will be of great help.
All right. Thank you, Jharna. That's a great question, actually, because a lot of people have asked me that. So learning with OFC is also sort of like a baby for me, as is the fellowship. And I know that there sounds like there's a lot of overlap, but there actually isn't. So learning with OFC is more like a subscription program to One Future Collective. Because we do so many learning offline, online events, we sort of designed a subscription model where you sign up for learning with OFC. And what you're getting is a discounted access to courses, to community events, etc. And additionally, we're curating some additional like learning experiences for you. So learning resources, a couple of meetups, some workshops. Even the Learning with OFC program was going to be an offline one, so you would have had more community spaces offline. But this year, unfortunately, we're doing that online as well. That is very different from a fellowship because One Future Collective offers like 10 courses at a time, right? Like right now, we have 4 courses lined up in the next month. So in Learning with OFC, different members of the community can opt for different courses. You will have some community events that are for everyone in the Learning with OFC cohort, but that is more about theoretical academic learning, expanding your knowledge base, whereas the fellowship is about developing specific skills to be a leader in the social sector. So not just learning skills around leadership and management, but very tangible skills you will need even like when you're looking for a job or when you're deciding that this is the cause I want to dedicate my life to or the next 10 years to. You will need those very specific skills to do that. It's a way deeper program. Like I mentioned in the beginning, the fellows went through over more than 100 hours of training over the course of 3 months. Direct training. It's a very small cohort. Learning with OFC, on the other hand, is more about you pick and choose what elements of One Future Collective's programs excite you, and you decide to learn along that pathway. The fellowship is more structured and provides the same learning to everyone. And also a lot of the experience around coaching, around mentorship, all of that you get through the fellowship. The Learning with OFC program provides you one-on-one mentorship, but to a limited area of expertise and only from the One Future Collective team. I hope that answers
Okay, that helps.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
No problem, and I'm glad it helped. So we have another 7 minutes. I'm going to take any final questions that you all might have. I noticed Abira on the call, and Abira, I don't want to put you in a spot, but would you like to share something about your fellowship experience? If yes, I can quickly introduce you.
Hello. Yeah, definitely. Please do.
Right, thank you. So Abira was a budding lawyer when she joined the fellowship. She still remains a lawyer because of the lockdown, budding lawyer because of the lockdown conditions. She's one of the brightest legal minds I have seen in a long time. She's recently started her own organization, her own initiative called Saral, which is about making laws simpler, and they're doing a brilliant job. Abira has a lot of extensive experience working with human rights across organizations, even having worked with stalwarts like Teesta Settlebard. She has some incredible insights into the human rights justice field, and she brings that to her work very adeptly. Abira, go ahead. Over to you.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much, Vandita, for the kind introduction. So, to be honest, I was not like really up for the call because I had a really exhausting day, but I literally wanted to do this for the fellowship. I felt I owed it to the fellowship. And trust me, when I came at the point where Aprupa was speaking, and just to see her face and then after that Sheetal's face just made me rejuvenated again in a way. So just to see the ex-fellows again. And to talk about my experience with the fellowship, it did change my life. And I'm not saying it lightly because I was also at a point in my life where I was trying to figure out what to do. And I'm still a student, like Vandita mentioned. I could not complete my law because of the lockdown conditions. So I do have to give my final year exams. And I was in a phase last year where I was trying to figure out what to do after college. And I wanted to go for the social sector. So it provided me guidance, mentorship, a community where I could talk to people from the sector. It had great classes that already Rupa and Sheetal have mentioned. So we had classes from designing our own public narrative to we had classes on self-care, and we had classes on negotiation, which helped us in our professional as well as personal space where we can use those skills. And okay, like Sheetal mentioned that Vandita wanted for us to not fall back on OFC and find our own community and space and leadership journey. But I really fell in love with OFC and I joined OFC eventually. So I'm also working with OFC right now. And it's been a great journey. And trust me, if you do take up the fellowship, you will not regret it. It's been an amazing experience. I think that's about it. I can take up questions.
That's very kind. Ishita is requesting if she can get in touch with you separately. So Ishita, what you could do is you could drop us an email and we'll connect you with Abira.
Yeah, please do get in touch if you want.
Thank you. Any questions?
My email ID as well if you want to write to me.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
Any questions for Abira?
I have a remark for Abira. So I've been trying to reach you, but I could not because I loved the domestic violence guide. It was amazing. I loved the work. I loved the whole documentation, and especially the whole bystander intervention part. So kudos for that. And I've not seen a better guide. So a very, very, very big congratulations on that. And I hope you do well.
Thank you so much.
I have to second that. Yeah, it's truly a brilliant and very accessible guide.
Thank you so much.
Even that, I read the guide and it inspired me to write my own paper on it, and it's just been beautiful. I mean, the talk itself was great, so I would really congratulate you on creating such a beautiful guide. Yeah.
Thank you so much, but please don't congratulate me only. Congratulate Vandita and the whole OFC team for it,
we all worked hard on it, and they did encourage me to turn up to speak in the webinar. I was really nervous. So yeah, thank you so much, and thank you so much from the whole OFC team for the comments.
Oh, thank you everyone for the comments. It's really heartening to know that you all read it. Please share it ahead. If someone can share the link in the chat window, that'll be great. But Abira's being modest. Abira and Atanshi did all the hard work on the guide. They've put together some incredible recommendations for what each of us can do to tackle domestic violence in our everyday surroundings. And I say this for people who might not be aware of the guide. Do look it up. It's available on our website, but you can always just ask us for a link as well. Thank you, Abira, for working on it, and thank you everyone for reading it. If there are no questions, I'm going to take a final question from Nishtha. So Nishtha is asking how we plan on smoothly holding sessions for the fellowship since it's completely online, and if it will impact the program and the impact the program generally makes as well. So Nishtha, this is the second year of our fellowship, and last year was a pilot, and we thought, okay, this year we really know what we're going to do, right? Because we tested it last year. And then what happened to the world happened. So we are not going to say we know. We're not going to give you a 100% answer saying, oh, it's going to be perfect. We do have a certain amount of experience in running online certificate courses and trainings. And we have done that to some fair amount of success because the feedback we've received has been about a 9 out of 10 on quality and content and facilitation style. But we don't know what the fellowship will look like because it's virtual. We don't know if the quality will get impacted. We hope not, because the content and facilitation style remains the same. We do agree that building a sense of community virtually is more difficult than building one offline. But I will share this from my personal experience. I have been a part of a couple of international fellowships, and I serve on the advisory boards of a couple of international organizations. And I have never felt that I could not build community with people when I wanted to truly build community with them, just because of the barrier that I could not physically meet them. Jaren has shared the link to access the guide. I know we're running over time almost, so I'm going to close for today. If there are pressing questions, please leave them in the chat window. I will still get back to them and answer them. I'm also sending this across here. I hope you'll all received it. It has an expression of interest form, and we have the names of those who are attending today. So if you apply, we will give you a priority in terms of application. We also have WhatsApp groups for different cities, so please join them. It will help you stay in touch with everything we're doing, and we also share some interesting resources and sometimes have conversations that are important on that group as well. We hope you will consider applying for the One Future Fellowship. We're available for any questions that you might have. You can write to us. We're happy to connect you with fellows who can answer your questions, or also have one of the team members get on a call with you to navigate your way through that. Is this fellowship even the right thing for you, right? Anyone with any other questions? Thank you, Archana. Thank you, Rahat, and everyone else. We didn't want to make this too boring. It's mostly been me speaking. If you ever want to chat where I can hear you talk as well, please just feel free to write to me directly as well. My email ID is vandita@onefuturecollective.org instead of info. Or you can write to my team on the details given to you in front of your screens. Thanks a ton. I'm so glad to see all of you showed up. We will be putting up a recording of this on YouTube, so you can share it ahead with friends that might be interested. And we will be launching applications for the fellowship really soon. Thank you so much for being a part of this today.
Thank you.